Hi, I'm Nabila. Welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited about the project that I want to do today, so let's just get right into it. I've been thinking a lot about personal style lately, especially since I am taking this YouTube thing really seriously, and I'm kind of realizing that the kind of aesthetic that I'm going for when I get ready to film videos for this channel is art teacher chic, and I'm noticing that some of my wardrobe doesn't align with that currently. So I have this white button up here, and everyone says a white button up is a closet staple, but really I haven't worn this white button up, and I think it's because the button placket has this kind of flap going over it to hide the buttons to give it a really clean look. And it looks really nice, but something about it makes me think chef and not art teacher. So for today's video, I wanted to give this white button up a fun, colorful makeover. So this idea actually struck me on the day that I heard that Joann's was closing. So this was part of my last Joann's haul, and I went ahead and got a small reusable bag as a kind of memento, and I was thinking it'd be the perfect size to carry on my knitting as well, so it's not just for looks. This bag will actually get used. So this is all the rickrack that I bought, and if you've never heard of rickrack, it is this kind of wiggly trim, and I typically see it used in like home decor, but I thought it'd be fun to add it to this white t-shirt and kind of just bring more color to the shirt so that I would actually want to wear it a lot more. Another thing about this being such a stark white button up is it just makes me really scared to like spill things on it. I don't know. I have this like aversion to stark white for some reason. So maybe adding this color would also make me feel like I can actually wear this and it's not as intimidating for me. I'm looking at these colors again, and I think that these might be kind of close to the Olympics logo. I did not do that intentionally. I was just trying to pick some colors that went well together. I'm sure I could just wing this and sew the rickrack on the shirt and make judgments as I go, but I'm kind of the type of crafter that wants to plan how things are gonna look at the final result. So I think what I'm gonna do today is take some pictures of my white button up and use my iPad to kind of draw over it and kind of just sort of make a game plan, and maybe things will get tweaked from there, but I just want to create a first draft so I can kind of visualize what I would like to see in the end product. So I just finished my sketching, and I'm also trying out this new mic. I feel like this looks a little goofy, but I'm gonna get the hang of it. I'm really glad I sketched these out because my first gut feeling was that I wanted to do this kind of like grid pattern, and I wanted there to be a lot of like lines overlapping, but then when I sketched it out, I actually didn't like it as much as I thought I would. It's just a little too busy, I think. And I also did a simple sketch with just some rickrack on like kind of the edges and the trim, and I like it, but it's just a little bit too classic. It's not really giving art teacher to me. It's kind of giving like art director, or maybe like an art curator for a museum, and I really want it to feel like an art teacher. And I kept on sketching, and one thing that I was noticing is that when I was using the orange, I started to not like the t-shirt as much. I really like a limited color palette, so I decided that I'm just gonna do 4 colors. So the red, the green, the yellow, and the blue. So the first sketch that I really started liking was this one that was this grid pattern, but it was a little bit simple for my taste. And so then I kept on sketching, and here I was still trying out the orange. And then finally I landed on this one, which is the limited color palette. But also I was noticing that I really preferred the red rickrack to be on the collar, so I started with that for this sketch. And also I really wanted the red and green to intersect somewhere, so I made sure to have that happen on that side. And yeah, once I was done sketching the front, I sketched out the back. I actually only did one back sketch, and then I just erased and iterated on it along the way. But yeah, the back is pretty simple in comparison, but I think that if the back was as busy as the front, I think the shirt would just be too busy. So I really like how that came out, and I think I'm ready to get started. I'm just trying to decide if I really need to have a separate thread for each different color of the rickrack? I think the answer is yes, unfortunately, because I was holding a gray thread up to the rickrack, and some people say that gray blends in when you're using like a multicolor print, and I think that does work on a print, but since these are all solid colors, the gray really stands out in a way that I don't prefer. So I think I will have to switch out my threads for each different color, unfortunately. But anyway, I think this is a relatively simple project, so it's not a huge deal. And I think that it'll just look so much nicer and the thread will be more invisible. So I think it's worth it to do that extra step. So just to start off with, I want to go ahead and draw out some guidelines because I know myself and I kind of just want to knock that out first. So after I'm done with this, I can just sit down and sew. I'm going to draw with a water erasable pen, and I want to make sure that it's going to be parallel to the button placket. That's the only thing that I'm really looking at when I draw this line. And then I think I want another line here. And see, this is why I'm using the button placket and the pocket for my straight lines, because you can see the side seam is so curved. So if I were to line it up with that, it would really mess me up. Now time to do the back. This might be a little hard to get straight since I don't have a button placket. So I'll just make sure that all my lines are perpendicular to the yoke, I think. I didn't want any of the rickrack to be on this gathered portion because I feel like that will be kind of hard to line up. Now that I have all my guidelines marked, I'm ready to get to sewing. I wanted to start on the back yoke so I could get the hang of lining my rickrack up on easy mode with the straight guideline of the yoke. Before I sew this down though, I need to finish the edges of my rickrack so they don't fray, and the easiest way to do that is to burn the edge, fold that edge over, and sew a straight stitch. If you're following along with this project, please be careful as always whenever we're working with fire, and also wear a mask to prevent inhaling the fumes. For this first one, I went ahead and finished both of the edges before sewing the rickrack down, and I followed a similar process for the cuffs, along the button placket, and below the pocket. Good morning. So yesterday I actually ended up finishing all of the green that was planned for this button up. I might end up adding more green later or going back and adding more of the different colors, but it was actually really fast. It was faster than I expected because I had to finish every edge as I was going, so that was kind of intimidating in my mind, but in reality it wasn't too bad. So I'm just gonna continue on. I think the next color I want to add is the blue, and yeah, we're gonna go from there. But I'm loving how it's coming out. I'm super excited. I'm really excited to see the finished product. So I think with all that motivation, I can finish today. So let me go ahead and get started. I decided to tackle all the blue rickrack next. And for these, instead of finishing both edges of the rickrack, I found it easier to finish just the starting edge and then stop sewing a few inches from the end of the rickrack, cutting the excess rickrack off, and then finishing the other edge, and then sewing the rest of the trim down. That way I don't have to worry about cutting the rickrack at the perfect length before sewing it. I also found it helpful to have a little scrap piece of fabric near the rickrack when I was finishing the edge so that the trim didn't get eaten by the machine, but some tearaway stabilizer would have made this even easier. After I finished the yellow rickrack, it was time for the last color, red. I I was most nervous to sew the collar points, but all I had to do was pinch and fold the rickrack to make it lay flat in a way that I liked. Okay, I'm almost done. I just need to hand sew the yellow rickrack onto the pocket. I just finished sewing the yellow rickrack to the pocket, so I'm done. And I love how this came out. I think this would be an easy thing for anyone to do to spruce up any old button-ups they have. I will say that I feel like the sleeves are a little blank, but it doesn't bother me too much. And also, honestly, doing the rickrack on the sleeves would be probably the most difficult to do because you'd have to do it in the round. So I don't really want to do that. I am pretty happy with it the way it is. And yeah, this didn't take me that much time at all. Even with changing the threads out, it still wasn't too bad. But yeah, I can't wait to style this. I think this is definitely giving art teacher and not waitress anymore. So yeah, it's perfect. The only thing I was thinking about while I was sewing this is I wonder how well this will wash, and specifically if the colors will bleed. I think that I will probably hand wash this from now on, just to make sure that the colors don't bleed, but it probably will be fine since the trim is polyester. So I will keep you updated if anything goes wrong with this. But anyway, let me go ahead and show you this on. Oh, my hand's a little tired.